Are you looking for a new city and don't want to be murdered? I think that's a yes for just about anyone looking to move. It's like you're on Google and you're looking up worst traffic, lowest home prices, good schools. Oh, and I don't want to be murdered in the parking lot of a vacant Kmart while I'm trying to fix a flat tire. Seeing that about 99.9% of us don't want that to happen, I thought we could look at the deadliest cities in the US going into 2023. We rank these by how many murders they have for every 100,000 residents, and I also give you their violent crime rate. Whenever I do this video or this type of video, I always get a bunch of people thinking I skipped certain places. Chicago always seems to come up. Chicago normally has the most murders, but they also have a whole bunch more people than a lot of the cities on this list. As an example, Chicago is on this list and so is Memphis. The Chicago metro area has about 10 million residents, while Memphis has about 1.3. Memphis only had 2/3 the amount of murders that Chicago had, but because the population it breaks down to, Memphis had 44 per every 100,000 residents, while Chicago only had 16. I've explained this many times and people still think the numbers I get from the FBI are wrong. So I thought I'd have a math guy explain it to you. Here's Bri the Math Guy.
Let's play a game. You're going to pick a random marble from one of two bags filled with gold and white marbles. You win if you draw a gold marble. The first bag has 1 gold and 9 white marbles. The second bag has 10 gold marbles and 990 white marbles. Which bag do you want to pick from? The first bag. You have a 10% chance to win, while the second bag has a 1% chance to win. Even though the second bag has more winners, the relative chance of winning is lower. It's the same concept with cities of a large population. A large city could have more of some characteristic, but looking at it as a percentage of the overall population, it could be less than a city with a smaller population.
Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Like I've said before, I feel kind of guilty talking bad about Albuquerque. I met some nice people when I was in San Antonio that are from Albuquerque, but the city of Albuquerque did this to themselves. They've got horrible crime. A lot of it has to do with underfunded police. They really don't have a lot of jobs there. I mean, compared to other states in other cities, and they really get into their violent crime. It's like a sport at this point in Albuquerque. Albuquerque's violent crime rate is 246% above the national average. In 2021, they had 16.2 murders for every 100,000 residents. That's an increase from both 2019 and 2020. 2020 is kind of a gimme because, we were all locked down, but still, they're trending upwards, and right now in 2022, it looks like they're going to beat 2021 numbers. Number 9, Rockford, Illinois. There you go. For all those folks that want to say Illinois is the worst and Chicago in general, Rockford. Rockford's not too far from Chicago. It's about an hour and a half northwest of downtown Chicago. Besides a strange amount of murders in this city, they also have a lot of people disappearing, and they have a lot of people that show up in the Rock River that flows right through town. In 2021, Rockford, Illinois had a violent crime rate that was 203% higher than the national average. And yes, that's lower than Albuquerque, but we're going by the murders per 100,000 residents on this video. And theirs was 17.3 for every 100,000 residents. And they only have a population of about 150,000 residents. Their entire metro area only has 344. So they got a bunch of overachievers. Number 8, Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas has been going downhill for some time. In the last 4 or 5 years, since I've really been putting a lot of focus on these cities in the United States, Houston is continually moving up the bad things food chain. If they really apply themselves, 5 or 6 years, they could be ranked right up there with like Detroit. Now, when people get murdered, a majority of the time it's going to be in their residence. In Houston, one of the top spots to get whacked is a convenience store parking lot. That's not cool. Nobody wants to die with a handful of red vines and a belly full of Dr. Pepper. The violent crime rate in Houston is 224% higher than the national average. In 2021, they saw 20.5 murders for every 100,000 residents. And that's up from both 2020 and 2019. And again, it looks like they're going to beat last year's number here in 2022. Number 7, Little Rock, Arkansas. Little Rock is our only entry into this list from Arkansas. I know a lot of you were expecting to have Pine Bluff. They didn't quite make it. Their violent crime rate is pretty high, but they didn't have enough murders. It's like they've got a bunch of slackers out there or something like that. Little Rock has a long history of violence and gang activity while wearing overalls and barefoot. The violent crime rate in Little Rock, Arkansas is 377% above the national average, and their murder rate is 24.8 for every 100,000 residents. Good times. Number 6, South Bend, Indiana. South Bend is new to the lists of suckage. It used to be close to the top 10 for a lot of years, and in recent years, it's like moving well into the top 10 whenever we're talking about some serious suckage. South Bend has some poverty issues and some seriously underpaid human beings. They've got a real problem with far too many minimum wage jobs. They also got a problem with their violent crime rate. It's 346% above the national average, and they had 27.9 murders for every 100,000 residents. Their murder rate has grown by 2% in each of the last 3 years, and this year looks like it's going to blow those numbers out of the water. Number 5, Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City, Missouri has the Mississippi River flowing right through town, and it branches off in the middle of town to the Kansas River. Stop typing. How many of you were leaving the comment? It's actually the Missouri River, not the Mississippi River, flowing through Kansas City, Missouri. Be honest, who was leaving the comment? But Kansas City has a long history of not being a great place to live. I mean, they do have some neighborhoods that are nice. Right across the border in Kansas, they have Overland Park, which is part of the Kansas City metro area, and it's one of the best suburbs in the United States. It's just that Kansas City, Missouri part kind of blows. And really, that's true with just about every city. You're going to have some nice suburbs, but it's just those ones that aren't so nice really outshine your good places. Kansas City, Missouri's crime rate is 309% higher than the national average, and their murder rate is 35.2 for every 100,000 residents. Number 4, Memphis, Tennessee. Yes, our old friend Memphis. They're kind of known for a few things. Rock and roll and blues music, along with great barbecue and Beale Street. They're also kind of known for attacking each other with machetes and blunt objects. I don't know what the deal is with that, but they just have a strange amount of that going on in this place. Memphis is one of those places you go to when you want to get away from everyone. I forget the movie, but there was a comedy and this guy was talking about moving to Memphis, and his friend goes, Memphis is where you move to when you owe the wrong people a lot of money, because they won't even come there to look for you. It's like Las Vegas mobsters kind of just write you off as a loss when they find out you moved to Memphis. Memphis has a violent crime rate that's 506% higher than the national average. Their murder rate is 44 for every 100,000 residents, and that's been moving up 3 years in a row, and this year they're probably going to beat it also. Number 3, Wilmington, Delaware. Yes, Wilmington, Delaware has not made it on this list in a long time. Well, actually, it usually makes it onto lists anytime we're talking about violent crime. But murder rate, yeah, they're another one of those places that has a lot of violent crime in the past few years, but not as many murders. Well, they're picking up steam. They're getting back to their old form. The violent crime rate in Wilmington, Delaware is 310% higher than the national average. And their murder rate is 44.3 for every 100,000 residents. Their murder rate and violent crime rate have risen 3 years in a row. Number 2, Detroit, Michigan. Detroit, Michigan kind of surprises me. Now, they're in this weird thing. They've lost so many residents. Their stats, it's like only the bad people are staying behind. I'm sure there's plenty of wonderful people that still live there, but over time, a lot of the wonderful people have moved out, and now there's just some wonderful people and a lot more dirtbags. The good news is, in the last few years, downtown Detroit's gotten a lot better, and hopefully that'll start, moving out to the suburbs. But right now, some of those suburbs are pretty scary. And the stats kind of confirm that. The violent crime rate in Detroit is 462% above the national average. The only one that beats them is Memphis. A few years ago, they were in the 600s almost, I think, 559. So they've gotten better in the violent crime rate. The downside is their murder rate has gone up. Right now, it is 49.7 for every 100,000 residents. And in the last 5 or 6 years, it's gone up a few every single year. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. We would love it if you went over there and subscribed, watched some videos, give some thumbs up. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Baltimore, Maryland. I almost said Baltimore, Michigan. How strange would that have been? People pulling out their maps, trying to figure out what's going on. But yeah, Baltimore's definitely in Maryland, and it's definitely a nightmare. Now, in recent years, they've started kind of this revival thing where they're pulling in a lot of tech jobs. And I honestly think, I don't know, maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, they could be a hot spot for tech jobs. They do have a lot right now, but hey, you know, they're kind of pushing for that. Hopefully the crime rate they got going on and the murder rate they have going on in Baltimore doesn't scare all those tech workers off. I did a worst neighborhoods in Baltimore video probably about 6-7 months ago, and what's going on in some of those neighborhoods is straight up scary. When I say scary, it's like a friend asks you to drive him someplace on there, you start wondering, now would I rather do that or swim in an alligator pond? The violent crime rate in Baltimore is 379% above the national average, and here comes the big finale. Their murder rate is 58.1 for every 100,000 residents. That's a lot of people getting croaked. It's like you're trying to do a drive-by and someone's doing a drive-by on you at the same time. Baltimore is unhealthy. Stay away. Alright, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, and be nice to each other.